This is WBSM On Demand.
It's morning in America. It's morning in America. I got what I wanted, a decisive victory, right? As I was mentioning to you for the last couple of days, I wanted Donald Trump to win. You know that, and many of you did as well. But most of all, second to that, I wanted to make sure it would be a decisive victory. So there's no question, right? There's no question. How do you feel? 508-996-05. Have you checked on your liberal friends? Have you checked on your liberal friends? Some people are going to have a hard time with this. And that's because what the Democrats did to their own base, I didn't believe what they were saying, but their own base is convinced that today we've elected, the American people have elected a Führer. I mean, it's absolutely insane. If the Democrats really thought Trump was going to be that bad, they wouldn't have left Biden in there and tried to scam the American people. They would have replaced him earlier, and they certainly would have replaced him with Kamala Harris, right? Check on your left-wing friends. And I have a friend of mine who, he's an adult, he has an adult children, who was so upset in 2016, he had to go down and check on his daughter. She lived out of state, and he physically had to go to her apartment or home to spend time with her. Now, he loves his daughter, so he didn't mind. But that's how unhinged she was with Trump derangement syndrome. So I think last night was obviously good, but I'm telling you, I think a decisive victory is important, and let's get on with the business of America. I think the average American who voted yesterday, they voted to reject the open border policy of the Democrats, right? They said, I don't like Donald Trump. Many of people said, I don't really like Donald Trump. Many of you love Donald Trump. I find him to be a great leader, and I find the things that bother you most are the things that make me laugh about him. But I think the American people last night resoundingly rejected the open border policies of the Democrat Party. The importing of new people, reckless importing of new people into the country, and dumping them on the taxpayers. I think we in Massachusetts have to be very concerned because a lot of people in the Massachusetts Democrat Party are going to reflexively head up the resist campaign, right? Like they did in 2016. And they're going to say, we'll take all the illegal immigrants, right? Come to Massachusetts. So when normal states are getting on board with the deportation, Massachusetts, I predict, will get on board with the protect and resist, protect the migrants, criminal status or not, and resist President Trump, the duly elected leader of the republic. Resist him, protect the migrants, even if they're criminals and rapists and everything else. I think that could be the unfortunate direction that Massachusetts takes. Right? So if you're a Democrat, you've got to encourage your elected leaders here in the Commonwealth, from Elizabeth Warren and Governor Healy on down to the lowest state rep and selectman, to, hey, we want to have a country here. We don't want all these illegal immigrants. We don't want to pay for them. And we want protection. And we're not going to get on board with jamming up the business of the United States of America for 4 years because your flawed candidate and your terrible policies lost at the ballot box in a Democrat election, right? So Make a phone call this morning to some Democrat. And by the way, go by their house and check on them. Check on the left-wing woke member of your family so they don't do anything stupid, right? Good morning. Thanks for holding.
Good morning. How you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. I mean, I'm not a Trump supporter, but he won, and I support my president.
Yes, I like that.
That's the way I feel about it. I'm not going to make no excuses, and I hope they have a nice transfer of power and things get better, and for best for everybody.
I like that attitude, my friend.
Well, that's the only attitude everybody should have. No excuses. I mean, I believe that the election is not stolen and all those type of things. And I hope that everybody gets a little bit off the wagon of dissension and hate and all these other things that's been going on for so long right now.
No, I think that's the best way to deal with it, right? We have elections every 4 years, and sometimes you win, sometimes you lose.
Exactly.
And sometimes the guy you didn't support turns out to be a lot better than you thought he was.
Yeah, I mean, I voted for Bush twice. I voted for Reagan. Other times I voted for Democrats. I mean, but I just don't like what's been going on, ever since Donald Trump has been on the scene. But, he's back on the scene again, so there's nothing I can do about it. There's nothing nobody can do about it. So we support him, and hopefully, things are better, for everybody, not just one particular person.
Oh, I think that's and I appreciate that, my friend. Thank you. 508-996-0500 so you can get on the air. Good morning. Thanks for holding.
Hi. My prediction wasn't too good. I predicted 40%, right?
Right.
We had almost 49% turnout.
It's amazing.
But in the municipal elections, we get 6 to 9% turnout.
What does that tell you, Mike?
Apathy. And what it tells me, even though he didn't win the state, people were fed up with the Democrats.
I think the migration stuff was a huge issue. Look at I think the vote to look at is the. Go ahead.
Have you ever seen my 14 years ago? I made a YouTube video, and pretty much everything I said has happened. If you go on YouTube, Michael Jansen for mayor.
Okay.
I want you to look at it, and you'll see it's on YouTube. It's still there. I've only got 1,300 views, but that was 14 years ago. And I told everybody, well, for the past 20 years, I've been talking about the adverse effects to illegal immigration. But I think people were just fed up with the Democratic Party throughout the country. Now, she hasn't said that. I got a funny feeling they're going to try to get him convicted before January.
Oh, I don't think they're going to give up either, Michael. I think you're 100% right about that.
No, they don't want to relinquish their power. No. The people have spoke. They don't want you anymore. Get out. See, the unelected bureaucrats that are running the CIA, the FBI, the NSA, the Secret Service, and on and on and on, these people don't want to relinquish their power. The DOJ, they don't want to relinquish their power. And that's what's going to happen after January. So they're going to pull a move. Oh, yeah, they're going to pull a move. Shameful that's what's going to happen, but that's what's going to happen. Mike, they're going to try to get him convicted before January.
I think you're right about that. I think that there'll be a third assassination attempt, no doubt about that. Hopefully people will just embrace the fact that Donald Trump, my fear is that this state will become even more of a sanctuary state. That as the governors of other states start getting on board with Trump's program, this governor who a lot of people voted for, including
Well,
myself.
she's out of her mind.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, I had to sue her, and it took her 8 years to show up in court.
Really?
And of course, I lost because the judge, I won't mention her name, but she wanted to get bumped up as a judge. She knew that Maura Healey was going to become governor. So, of course, it took her 3 months. But she put thumbs down to... I was the plaintiff. She was the defendant. She was the attorney general at the time. She didn't show up for 8 years. They would have defaulted me if I didn't show up and not her. Yeah, we got a sad thing going on in this state with our Democratic politicians. Sad. So, what's your take on everything that might transpire? I've got my feelings. I just told you what I think they're going to do.
I agree with you, Mike. Unfortunately, I agree with you that I think they're going to try to convict him. But, you know, what about Kamala Harris putting the 25th Amendment into place to replace Biden before Trump gets in so she can be the president?
Sad, huh?
Crazy.
Like, I mean, the Department of Justice is so corrupt. Our courts here in this country is so corrupt. It's unbelievable.
We're going to get a new
guy
U.S.
in New
attorney.
York? Judge Judy was all over that attorney general from New York. She hates him. She says he's crooked. And he's the guy that's going to go after him. Watch.
Thank you, my friend. I think. Thanks. That's Mike Jansen, everybody. 508-996-05. If you're on hold, stay there. We're going to take a quick break. Open phones. How do you feel? Are you upset? Are you having a good time? Are you happy with it? I mean, look, there's no question about what happened last night. It's decisive. I don't know why. Has Kamala Harris already headed back to Canada? Is she back in Canada now? That's really where she's from. 508-996-0500. Stick around. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the program. I'm Chris McCarthy. It's Morning in America. Morning in America. They're still counting, though, here in Massachusetts. There are unsettled local races, and that'll all get worked out. So, but a big, big victory last night for the Republicans, and I would say a victory for common sense, really. Everybody knows, folks, we've been living under a state of emergency in the state of Massachusetts because of the illegal migration problem. Governor Healey, the left-wing Democrat, has had us under a state of emergency because of the crisis at the border and the total mismanagement of the system. So I think common sense won, and it's what we do with it, right? Now. Good morning. Thanks for holding.
Good morning. Great victory. I'm happy and I'm sad at the same time.
All right.
Only because I think that gentleman before is onto something about they're going to try to stay in power and they're going to try to indict him and everything like that. But you know what? God has a plan. I think God. I'm a believer. Trump lived that bullet, and somehow she picks Tim Walz. If she would have picked Shapiro, I think Pennsylvania would have gone to them.
I totally agree with you.
It's just the way things are happening. It's just as far as Massachusetts becoming a sanctuary state, which it already is.
Yes.
I think Donald Trump was eliminating sanctuary states executive orders. He's going to stop putting things like that in play. Whether people say, because he didn't get voted, Massachusetts went for Trump, he's not going to do anything for Massachusetts. But the Democrats didn't do anything for Massachusetts either because they had all this kind of federal money for bridges. Bill Keaton's district for the Sagamore and Bourne Bridge, and didn't get nearly half of it, or very little. So it ain't like the Democrats did anything for Massachusetts except siphon funds for illegal migrants.
That's exactly what happened. No, I agree with you, my friend. And if you look at and thanks for the call, as always, don't be a stranger. Bill Keating, who's a friend of the program, a personal friend of mine, I think he's a reasonable guy. That's why I'm going to count on Bill Keating to do the right thing here with the Trump administration. I hope he doesn't join the Jackal Pack and go right after President Trump after a duly elected president, right? After we just had very good elections and the people have spoken. So I hope Bill doesn't join the Jackal Pack. And unfortunately, he was dragged into the first impeachment, which was about covering up Hunter Biden's crimes, right? You get that now, right? It's probably clearer to a lot of you now. I was speaking with some Democrats last night about that. I said, you realize that this all got started because the Democrats wanted to cover up Hunter Biden's activities overseas collecting money. There's no question about any of that now, right? And that's why they had to impeach Trump to stop that investigation. They had got the intelligence agents to say the laptop wasn't real, it was Russian propaganda. I mean, folks, this is what happened was worse than Watergate. And America woke up and realized it. Good morning. Thanks for holding.
Good morning, sir. How are you today?
I'm doing great. I couldn't be better.
Me either. I'm a little rough around the edges, as you can tell, but that's because I was getting phone calls from all over the country last night from my family.
I was up till 2:30 in the morning when I said, Chris, you got the alarm clock's going to come at 5:30. You got to go to bed.
Yeah, I hear you. But this is one of those nights, like when you graduate from college or or high school or whatever, that you do celebrate. So, I thought there was something really interesting last night, and it wasn't talked about much, but he won the popular vote by 5 million. That's a lot.
Yes.
I mean, considering he didn't win the popular vote in the first in 2016 or 2020, and it seemed to be a Democratic sticking point is, we won the popular vote, let's get rid of the Electoral College, and you had Jamie Raskin had a list of stuff he was going to do if he was in power, which one of them was to get rid of the Electoral College and pack the Supreme Court. But I think that the whole thing was a huge mandate. 41% of Hispanics for Trump, 15% of blacks for Trump. And I don't think it's about Trump. I think that democracy corrected itself, and the U.S. is a massive example in the world of what democracy can do, because you can correct what's wrong, and now we're going to be vigilant, right? So this type of stuff isn't going to fly like it did in the last decade. So anyway, what do you think?
Well, no, I agree with you, and there's a couple of down ballot stuff. Take, for instance, the rejection of the legalization of psychedelic mushrooms. Now, I happen to think that if they can do it with research, things like that, but that's not what they wanted to do. They wanted to have over-the-counter retail sale to people 21 years and older of hallucinogenic drugs, and the people of Massachusetts rejected it. So I think that's a great sign, even though we put Liz Warren back in. But John Deaton did incredibly well, particularly in this area.
How about Pat Haddad losing?
That's amazing.
Thank you, too, because your program is such a great balance. You get to hear from both sides in the middle, and at the end, we're all together, in Bristol County, and, I think you put on a show that allows some really good dialogue and probably the most educated voters in the state, I think.
I appreciate that. I really do, and that's what I kind of strive for, Occasionally I yuck it up a little bit, but we do infotainment here, right? We have some fun, but we like to put some solid information out. 508-996-0500. Of course, question 5, the tip question, that was resoundingly defeated, which, again, that's what you needed. So you had the rejection of command and control economy by the Massachusetts voters. Resounding rejection of a command and control economy when it comes to restaurants. That's a good sign. You had the rejection of the retail sale of psychedelic mushrooms. Look, I don't think people should be incarcerated and they aren't really, for psychedelic drugs. It's not the big problem we have in the state. But I think most, and I recognize most of you do as well. You're probably like I am. You don't think people should go to jail, but you don't also want to encourage the retail sale, right? You don't want to create a legal lane for people to go to a store and get psychedelic drugs. And that's just not a good recipe. And so Massachusetts voters rejected command and control economics and the liberalization more of drug laws. So I think that's a really good sign. And some of the elections are still undecided. 508-996-0500. Good morning. Thanks for holding.
Hi.
Hello.
What I got to say is she thought that us Americans were stupid because we weren't informed. Even in New Bedford, there's 3 places that voted for Trump.
Yes.
So, that should tell them something. And getting the House and the Senate is even better.
Bill Keating had, his opponent is a nice guy. We had him into the studio. I think Bill Keating survived on the legacy of the fact that he's been a pretty good congressman. Otherwise, I think Bill would have been in a lot more trouble.
Yeah, the people I work with, they must be celebrating because we were all Trump people except for a few. And I'm celebrating because I'm going on vacation.
Oh, I love it. Well, you deserve a vacation, my friend. Thanks for the call. Tell me how it was when you get back. 508-996-01. I think we all owe a debt of gratitude to our leader, Tom Hodgson, right? Former sheriff of Bristol County, the current chairman of the Trump campaign here in Massachusetts. I mean, I know, 'cause Tom and I are close friends, as you most people know that. And many of you are close friends with Tom. You know how hard he worked. He was going out to places like Holyoke. Who goes to Holyoke? Nobody. So, by the way, the birthplace of Hugh Dunn, former city councilor. 508-996-0500. Good morning. Thanks for holding.
Is this going to cause the Democrats to review their policies and become a bit more conservative?
You know what? If members of the Democrat Party who are more conservative are willing to step up and battle with the socialist, communist factions of the party, then yes. But if they want to lay back like they have for the last couple of years and just let all this illegal migration subsidize it and all the other craziness, then I think the Democrat Party is doomed.
Can I ask you another question?
Sure.
Did the Democrats lose control of Congress?
We don't know yet.
Oh, we don't know. Could you say about the Senate?
The Republicans took the Senate.
Okay. So the House of Representatives. Well, Trump could have everything under his control if you have Republican domination of the national government. Other question I have. Question 1. Is our Democratic state legislature going to ignore this mandate by the people for them to be audited by Diana DeSaglio?
Yes, it's just a matter of how they do it.
Oh, you still think that they're going to try to stop her from investigating?
Of course
what do they get to hide?
Well, I don't know exactly, but she knows that she used to be a member of that body. That's why she's going after it.
That would be a real kick in the teeth to the electorate, especially when I keep on hearing, well, you're not smart enough to understand all these decisions. These are major decisions. Only we can make them. That really irritates me because yes, they voted down the mushrooms, which I think was a good thing, and yes, they backed. Not changing the tip laws and stuff like that. So I don't think that shows a populace, an electorate that doesn't have any clue, so to speak, of those who choose to vote. And I really take umbrage at the fact that a lot of times politicians come on, friends of yours and mine,
yes.
All right, and it'll say, well, no, this cannot happen. Only we can decide this for you. This is a Republican situation. Now, Republican situations are for, like, a national government, and even sometimes the state government, too. But when you get down to a state election that has local consequences, I think to try to tell the people that they're not smart enough to handle these things, I think this election has shown I think they are.
How do I put it? I would agree with you in principle, but my concern is direct democracy generally doesn't work. and you can stampede a lot of questions, and those questions are
Would
very
you say
technical.
that in Fairhaven, Chris? When you have a town meeting that's to vote on things.
Well, here's the thing:
I
our
think
town
that's
meeting
where direct democracy does work.
No, but
and I think you think that too.
Yeah, but the town meeting format in Fairhaven is an elected town meeting.
Well, maybe it's still direct democracy.
No.
You know, you're having the average person say what's going on.
Yeah, but
you know?
the town meeting is in Fairhaven. So, like in Freetown, we have an open town meeting. You can, if you're a registered voter, you can walk in and vote in town meeting just like anybody who's been there for 30 years. Now, in Fairhaven, you have to get elected to town meeting, which a lot of people don't understand, and then that's the legislative body of the town.
I think we're splitting hairs because you're still having your people, your populace in the town, elect people, and that's bringing it closer to a direct democracy sort of thing.
Oh, it's certainly more like direct democracy, but it's not.
If you thought it was that good over here in New Bedford, Chris, you'd sell your house in Fairhaven and move into New Bedford, into the West End, you know.
Do you see, I got to tell you, I hate to do this to the great people of New Bedford, but there's a conversation going on about the tax rate in the city of Boston, because the mayor, and I know you know because they've been talking about OTR, but the mayor of Boston wants to double the business tax so she doesn't have to raise the residential tax. So I started looking there in these conversations. They're talking about the value what people are paying for taxes in Boston. They pay $10 for the $1,000 on a home.
Yeah,
that's like not quite half. But it's amazing how much lower that is than the tax rate on residential properties in New Bedford.
Oh, absolutely. That's one thing that John Mitchell can't walk away from. And you can't blame it on anybody else but him. He mows the grass. And as far as the city council, all they could do is try to trim it, you know. But he's the one that comes up with the budget. He's the one that sets the tax rate. And then, the city council tries to take out their sandpaper and their files and chip here and chip there. But he's the one that sets the tax rate. He's the guy and how people can keep on voting for Mitchell, high taxes. Whoever else comes in there and wants to run against him, me, low taxes. You know, very simple. Sort of like Kelly Ayotte and the Craig lady, I think, out in New Hampshire.
So I watch Boston news like you do. I was terrified of that Craig lady. I was afraid she was going to lose the election like she did and move to Massachusetts. She would fit right in with Shane Burgo and the Shane Denistas.
Well, all
10
you got to
cities
do, though,
in Needle Exchange.
Chris, for me, what you got to do is you're going to find a prominent Republican who's out of the state and get him or her to come into Massachusetts, get him a house here, and have them run against Maura Healey. Because that's the only way you're going to quickly create some sort of balance here in Massachusetts and not have this state of emergency we have that was created by our governor.
What about John Deaton? I mean, he had a good showing yesterday. He lost, but he had a good showing.
But again, I'd be looking for a national name. I know I mentioned what's her name now? She went on with Miss Harris there, kicked out of Congress. There's so many names.
Cheney?
Yeah. I know you don't like her because of her military thing, but I don't think you have to worry about her military issue as a governor of Massachusetts.
I think Liz Cheney, if she ever heard this, would immediately buy a plane ticket from Wyoming or Washington, D.C. to Massachusetts, my friend. Do not encourage that. We do not need her.
One other thing.
Yes.
Is our friend Sheriff Hodgson going someplace?
I don't know. I think that Tom Hodgson did yeoman's work for the president, and I think
carried water.
Yeah, big time.
Yeah, fighting like at the Alamo here in Massachusetts to try to get Trump a look. I wouldn't be surprised to see him get some sort of job in Washington D.C. and I hope he takes it if it does come up.
I think. Thanks for calling, my friend. I think that a lot of people are going to look at Tom Hodgson to do a lot of things. We have a governor's race coming up in 2 years. We all live in a congressional district, right? So I think if you look at Nurse Dan's returns in the district here, where I know that Tom Hodgson lives, that's obviously something possible, but who knows, right? But Tom deserves it, whatever he decides to do. Good morning. Thanks for holding.
Good morning, Chris. Gilly.
Hey, Gilly. How you doing?
Good. There was somebody that called this morning. There's another reason I called too, but somebody called Tim's show this morning, and he was talking about Trump is going to not going to do nothing for the people around Massachusetts and New Bedford and all that. And, I called in because he uses people. And he brought up Tom Hodgson's name, that he just used Tom. I called in and I told Tim that the reason we're going to get something around here, if it wasn't for Tom Hodgson, nothing would have been done.
Right.
But Trump didn't use Tom Hodgson. We're lucky to have Tom Hodgson fighting for all the people around here with Trump.
You're right about that.
Okay. But why I called, and I'm going to ask you if I can do this. You can shut me off if you like. Mike Jansen called up.
Okay.
Can I say something about what he said about the courts and the people, about Kamala and all that stuff?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. He made a comment about the courts. They're trying to take control of the courts and everything. They're trying to beat the system.
Okay.
Chris, Mike Jansen is registered to vote in his garage, which is not. He votes at the Butler Park Roman House.
Right.
Okay. He lives in the Carolina Apartments, New Bedford housing, where the taxpayers are paying.
Yeah, but Gilly, nobody really cares. I mean, really, that's all been litigated, and we're not going to go back and forth between you guys. I think you guys are both very active in the community, and I appreciate both of you. But we're not going to do that. That's been litigated and decided in Mike Jansen's favor. So I think Mike's a valuable part of the community, and that's where we'll be, right? All right, folks, stick around. We'll be right back. Again, it's a morning in America, right? Decisive victory for the conservatives, the Republican Party, and I think the local results are really amazing. And we don't have full grasp of them yet. Tim's working on stories. I will tonight look at all the returns. I was looking at them yesterday and talking about them, but I don't think we have a firm grasp even on what happened, particularly here in Massachusetts, and what the implications are. But I'd love to hear your opinion. 508-996-0500. We'll be right back. They have over 200 Smith & Wesson revolvers in stock, and they all have a rebate from Smith & Wesson, up to $150. So celebrate the Trump victory by buying a gun at Shooting Supply. The revolvers from Smith & Wesson start at just $399 after the rebate. At that price, you might as well get two. So we have an early Black Friday deal on 9mm ammunition for just $12.99 a box. Next training class. So if you have a gun license, you probably already know Shooting Supply. If you don't have a gun license, you ought to get one now, because who knows, right? The next training class is November 19th. Stop by the shop and see Dawn to sign up. Shooting Supply is right over there on Route 6 in Westport. Very easy, convenient parking. They're great over there. Go to shootingsupply.com, sign up for the preferred customer list, and get the best sales and specials in the area delivered right to your inbox, including their great Black Friday specials. So get a gun. Shooting Supply. That's the other thing, folks. The Massachusetts legislature has really gone way overboard on restricting the lawful ownership of firearms, your ability to protect yourself and your family. And that's going to get stomped down, I think, by the courts. Certainly now we've got the federal government. We'll have the federal government on our side in January for a period of time. But again, you have the right to own a firearm. And I think everybody who's not doing that properly as a government official, you got to get your head checked. You got to get right. You got to get right. The election yesterday was a mandate. Now, Tim is still working on, for instance, the state representative seat in Westport. That is still, I don't know, a couple dozen votes away from being settled between the Republican and the Democrat. So that's something to pay attention to. I think we know Kelly Dooner won. Kelly Dooner was a Republican running for Mark Pacheco's seat. She won. Now that's a testament to knocking on doors. Senator Dooner, although I think his name's going to be Senator Picard, because she got married during the campaign and changed her name right at the end. So it didn't change on the ballot, but I think it's going to be Senator Picard, not Senator Dooner. She'll be Senator Dooner, but I think she'll go by Senator Picard. Confused yet? Me too. 508-996-0500. Good morning. Thanks for holding.
Hey, good morning, Chris. How's it going?
It's going great. How are you doing?
Hey, Trump victory, Dow's up 1,300 points. Oh, because Biden economy. That's why it's up 1,300 points, because Biden's the man. How can you complain? But listen, the other caller brought up a awesome point, and I noticed it yesterday. The popular vote. The popular vote spoke for itself. What that said was people can't afford to live. That's what the popular vote said to me. People are struggling. They see the money going to the illegals, and when people, American citizens are hurting, and that's what it said to me. But what I called about, Chris, was, did you happen to hear the podcast with J.D. Vance with Joe Rogan?
I did. It was 3 hours. I had it on. And while we were doing other things, but I listened to it. It was incredible. I kept saying to Natalie, listen to this. Are you listening? She goes, yeah, I'm listening. But go ahead.
The Republican Party has a bright future.
Yes.
If they play their cards right, which, everybody's concerned now. They say, Trump has power across the board, so he's just going to run the show. And do what he wants. I think Trump's ego is going to stand in the way of that. He wants to be the best president ever, and I think that's what he's going to try to do. If they play their cards right, think about it. You could have J.D. Vance running in the next 4 years with, Vivek, for example. They run that for 8 years. Then you have Vivek coming in with someone else. You're talking about, again, if they play their cards right, you could lock this thing up for quite a long time.
I think that because Trump is got 4 years because he's constitutionally prohibited from serving more than that because he already served one term, I think the possibilities are amazing for what could happen.
So, but again, it's a wait and see, but you're already seeing the effects. 1,300 points right off the rip as soon as the stock market opened. Bitcoin hit an all-time high last night, hit over $74,000. The high was 73.8. So you're seeing it across the board. And don't get me wrong, I know prices are usually baked in, somewhat,
right.
But you can't deny 1,300 points at open. Come on, that's just... It's uncalled for. So there's no denying the Trump effect.
I wonder when Kamala is going to accept reality and concede the election. When are the Democrats going to concede the election?
I don't know.
Maybe never.
Maybe. There you go. Maybe. At the end of the day, who's supposed to concede? Is it Biden or is it Kamala?
No, it's Kamala and Biden. Because I think he's going to get replaced before. So thanks for calling, my friend, as always. This is a possibility. Because he's so Meshuggah, right? That's Yiddish for out of his mind. He's not capable of being president. We know that. Why wouldn't Kamala and the cabinet replace him using the 25th Amendment right now? That would put her in the presidency. She didn't mind not getting elected. She was already selected. She dodged all the primaries anyway, right? Got right to the general. So why wouldn't she just now remove the president officially and take over as president? That'd make her what she wanted to be, right? The first female president. Why wouldn't she do that? That's a possibility. Stick around. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the program. I'm Chris McCarthy. It's Morning in America, folks. I think Americans, whether you were native born or legally came to the country and qualified to vote, took our country back. We that's the only way I can look at it. We took our country back. And if you're one of the people that doesn't feel that way, I feel sorry for you. Really, I do. And we'll talk about that in the next hour. We're going to have the sheriff, Tom Hodgson, former sheriff, chairman of the Trump campaign. He'll be here in the studio at 11 o'clock. Just got off the phone with him. And obviously, we love Tom and we appreciate all the work he and Joanne did to move the country forward, right? That's what happened. So do you have a member of the family close friend who maybe you are worried, terrified, because you were convinced by the Democrats that Adolf Hitler was going to rise to power, the Fuhrer, and seize control of the American government. Are you worried? Have you been brainwashed? Are you still one of the believers that Donald Trump is a Soviet spy? Listen, I know people in journalism who really believe that. People who are elected to the state legislature who really believe Donald Trump is under the control of Vladimir Putin, and which is why I understand many of you civilian types also believe that. Well, why wouldn't you? You've been convinced by the Democrat Party. They knew they could feel you were getting ready to leave the plantation. So they created a dragon, right? The myth. There's a dragon out there. Donald Trump. He's controlled by the Soviets. Now, many of you would have liked that back in the 70s and the 80s. But today you realize how crazy that is. But you don't realize how crazy it is that you believe it. It's really quite embarrassing, I think. So if you're one of those people, first off, I want to assure you that President Trump is much more loyal than most Americans, as far as I could tell, to this nation. He's not a Soviet spy. He's not the Fuhrer, and you really have nothing to worry about. Fascism is not coming to America. And I will tell you this, Joe Biden is the first American president to try to incarcerate his political opponents. Folks, there's nothing wrong with Donald Trump. There's something wrong with the entire Biden Justice Department. They tried to jail the man who was the Republican nominee, now the president-elect. And the American people stood up and said, no, we're not going to allow one of our fellow Americans, a former president of the United States, to be jailed by his crooked political opponents. So the American people overwhelmingly spoke. What happened yesterday was a reaction to the politicalization of the criminal justice system, the third world-like behavior of jailing political opponents, as done by Joe Biden and his allies in the Justice Department. It had never been done before. And the flooding of the country with illegal aliens, the subsidizing of illegal aliens, the twisting of the law to legalize some of them. And had Kamala Harris won, I can't even imagine what would have happened. But the American people overwhelmingly said, not just that, we're going to add some senators to back up our new president. We likely have added some House members. But are you one of those people who thinks there's a darkness coming over America? I have some Facebook messages, Facebook posts, that I'm going to read in the next hour as we wait for the sheriff, for Tom Hodgson, to return triumphantly to the studio, right? Triumphantly return to the studio. Tom Hodgson will be here in the 11 o'clock hour. In the next hour, in addition to taking your calls, I've got some of these posts I'm going to read. They are totally hilarious, unhinged, and I feel bad for these people because they believed their leaders. And a lot of their leaders, Democrats, took them down the wrong road. And now their mental health is on public display. So we'll enjoy it in the next hour. It's not kind, but elections have consequences, right? So if